camping for all? Do you know the basics of scout camping? Hey, ScouterStan. Let's talk about the basics of scout camping. Now, this is true for Cub Scout packs, yeah, and troops and crews, okay? Ships do their own thing, okay? They might go camping, they might go hiking, I don't know, it's up to them. But before we get into that, I want to personally invite you to come to our live meeting. Yes, the live meeting that we have on the very first Sunday of each month. It'll be at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and I believe the next one is February 5th. Now, at this meeting, we cover a lot of really cool stuff, and it's your opportunity to ask questions or suggest videos. That's totally fine. That's totally fine. We do a lot of really cool stuff, and that's one of those things. I also want to thank all of the people with Patreon. Patreon is a wonderful way to give some financial support to our channel. Hopefully, Patreon and channel members, you guys, all of the people that are financially supporting, I'm trying to use that money to buy a microphone. So you might see that in February. So we definitely need a microphone. It's getting a little, the headset that I have is a little tinny. So I want to make it a good sound. So those are the wonderful things that members of this channel and Patreon help support. Now, the definition of camping is very broad as far as what defines as camping. It could be anything from a sleepover, like a lockdown or something of that nature, all the way to a 10-day trek through the mountains of New Mexico. Okay, it could be a range, everything from canoe trips to hiking to camping overnight. That's the wonderful thing about camping. It is wide. Now, the number one thing that all adults are responsible for, and that is safety. Safety is the absolute most important job that us adult leaders do. And one of the safety things we need to make sure that goes on is we need to keep our scouts and adults and everyone safe. In that, electronics are an issue. I've been on campouts where they have been a problem. So when you go camping, you leave your electronics as much as you can in the car. Okay, I often refer to it as the camping mode. I have airplane mode. Well, there should be a camping mode, and there is. On every phone that I've ever found has a camping mode. It's called the off button. Okay, turn it completely off. Most likely, you're going to be in a place where there's no signal. Okay, you don't need it. Okay, it's not necessary. When you need a phone, you'll be able to turn it back on and get to a place to talk. And that's rare, extremely rare, okay? So, but as far as safety, only the adults should really have a cell phone. A 12-year-old with a cell phone could be a problem, okay? So make sure that they leave them in the car, okay? Or leave them home, that's even better. So safety is a huge concern. Now, in that, we also have youth protection. Everybody, all the adults that go on any camping of any kind, sleepovers to Philmont, okay? We need them all to take youth protection training. All of them. All of them should be certified and up to date. This is true for parents that are going. It's true for grandfathers and grandmothers. I mean, everybody, all the adults, everyone should have a youth protection training. That's critical. We need to keep our youth safe. Now, no matter what you do in scouting, we often call it the buddy system. in YPT, or Youth Protection Training, it's too deep leadership, two adults. It is absolutely critical when you go on an adventure, if you're going to go camping or something, no matter what it is, Cub Scouts or a troop or a crew, you have to have a minimum of 4 youth protection trained adults. Super important. There's a reason. Too deep leadership. Yes, if these 2 leaders have to leave camp and they're the only ones that are youth protection, the whole camping is over. Okay? That's why you need 4, so the 2 can stay behind. Okay? So that's your absolute minimum. Honestly, every single adult should be youth protection trained. It doesn't cost anything. Okay? It's free. It's done online. Okay? But everyone should have that for safety. It's critical. Absolutely critical. You got to have that. That's the very first part. Basic adult leader outdoor orientation, known as BALOO. BALOO is one of these things that all Cub Scout leaders need to take. You need at least 2. Too deep leadership. You need at least 2 in camp at any given time. So if you're doing Cub Scouts, you need to do your BALOO training. Now, there are a lot of Cub Scout packs that go camping once a year, twice a year. I've seen up to 4 times a year. So that's something that your unit has to decide on. Some don't camp at all. So I recommend at least once, especially for your Webelos and your Arrow of Lights. They need the experience of camping. And with that, you have to have BALOO trained leaders there. Now, many districts and even councils will have Cub Scout camping available, whether it be at their camping facility, or they might be doing like a camporee. So this is something that's available for Cub Scouts and Cub Scout packs. But again, your unit should have at least 2 BALOO trained leaders at any given time when you go camping. Now, this is in addition to the youth protection trained adults. You need at least 4 or more, or all. I would say all. That's the critical thing. You need these leaders to be there. Now, as far as family camping, that's when a family decides to go camping. It's not Scout related. If it's Scout related, you have to have these guidelines. If it's not Scout related, you're doing this on your own. Say, for instance, you're camping overnight at Yellowstone. Okay, beautiful place. You could do that. That's fine. You would do better if you have all that training and certifications. Think about that. But it's not required. That's not something that the Scouts monitor, because you're on your own. You're not doing it as a Scout unit. That's critical. If you're doing anything as a scouting unit, whether it be Cub Scouts, a troop, a crew, whatever, you have to have these certifications. They need to be there. They need to have these things for the safety of the youth. Introduction to Outdoor Leadership Skills, IOLS. IOLS is very important for all Scouts BSA troops, girls and boys. So you need leaders that do that. Just like the BALOO training for the Cub Scouts, you'll also have this for the troops. It's important to have as many leaders go through this training. It's also important if you're thinking of leaders that are going to be going into Woodbadge. They need to do all their basic training. They need to do all of their outdoor skills. They need to do all these things. That's kind of important for Woodbadge. Now, with that in mind, there's an IOLS video up there that actually will explain a lot of the mechanics of how that training works. Now, summer camp's a little bit different. Now, summer camp and high adventure, which we'll talk about in a minute, but as far as summer camp, you'll have a mixture of beginner campers and advanced campers. So most advanced campers, they can handle what they're doing. It's the beginning campers that you may have issues with. So all of your adult leadership that goes to summer camp needs to be youth protection trained and have the IOLS training in their on their paperwork. Some camps require it. When you do check-in, your adult leaders will be reviewed for that. If they don't have IOLS, a lot of camps teach it during that week. That's a big plus. So definitely take advantage of that at summer camp. Not all summer camps do that, so definitely check into it before you go, and to make sure that you are staying within the requirements that they have. So very important. Now, regardless, you're going to have some youth, especially the new ones, that have never been at camp. Okay, they've never been to summer camp. They've never done that kind of thing. You want to make sure that you have somebody. They often refer to them as like a Nurse Betty or Sawbones or something funny. But there should be some medical officer that's there to help homesick. Homesick is a huge problem. And one of the things about camping, it helps the youth get over and learn to deal with homesickness. That's a critical skill. And there's a video right up there on homesick and what should be done. That's a critical thing. Now there's one that I call it advanced camping for a troop, and that's patrol camping. So many times when a troop goes camping, they will put their patrols in different areas. That's one of the nice things about it. They have that patrol camping as a group. But the individual patrol can go camping also. So this is something that still needs to have the guidelines. You still need to have 2 of the IOLS trained leaders. You need a minimum of 4 youth protection adults. They can be also the IOLS, so you know that's important. So you need a mixture of these things. The more you have, the better. The more flexible you can be. If there's a problem and you can't stay within the minimum, the camping trip is over at that point. So if there's some issue where leaders have to leave, whether it be work related or whatever, family related, that could just end the camping adventure right there. So you have to stay within the guidelines. That is super critical for safety. Now, one major thing about camping, whether it be advanced camping or any kind of camping, is that you have to stay within the guidelines for youth protection. And that includes any of the gender troops, like a girl troop or a boy troop, okay? You have to stay within the guidelines. Super critical. Definitely check on those things. If you're not familiar with them, please look into it. That is important. Now, especially with a venture crew. Venture crew also has an IOLS module that they can do. That is something that a venture crew can do. And one of the wildest things about it is that venture crews are, for any other purposes, co-ed. Okay, there's boys and girls. They're older, and you still have to keep with the YPT gender rules. So that's the important part of when you're dealing with a venture crew. That's critical, and that leads right into hide venture. Now, hide venture, a lot of times it could be a crew that goes out to do hide venture at Philmont or Northern Tier or Summit or Sea Base. You know, there's a lot of different high adventure out there, and there are requirements. Some require a wilderness first aid certification. Some will require other things. So you need to find out who that is, and what you need to do to be ready to do high adventure. High adventure can be challenging, rewarding, wonderful, life-changing in a good way. So, you know, that's our goal. is to make sure that we have good, safe adventures for scouts to enjoy. That's one of the wonderful things about scouting is that we give you the tools to do adventure and have a safe environment for youth to really thrive and really grow and become incredible leaders. Now, if you get a chance, hit the thing that says more down there. The thing about it is I don't know where it's going to come up. It depends on what you're viewing this on. If it's a phone, it's different. If it's a laptop, it's different. If it's a stand-up computer, it's different. So hit the more button and look at some of the links. There's a lot of links for national, and it gives you specifics on everything we just covered. So definitely bring this up. If your unit is not doing this, then you need to bring it to their attention, okay? You need to bring it to their attention and making sure that they're doing this. This is critical safety issue. You have to have your certifications, you have to have your training. That is important. And you do so much for scouting. We don't want to put any scout in jeopardy, ever, okay? Our job is to keep them safe and have adventures of a lifetime. And they can't do that if they're not safe. That's not what we're about. We are about safety and having fun and an adventure, something that you just don't get today. You'll never get this at any school. You know, that's why scouting is so darn important, and you know that. Let's tell everyone that scouting is important. And keep up the hard work that you do. And I really do appreciate everything you do for your scouts. And keeping them safe and keeping yourself educated and aware, that is critical. I say that a lot. So it must be. Oh, awesome. I am so glad. I'm so thankful for you. And I will see you on the trail.